hello, and welcome to I-5 The Heat Radio. This is our 5th episode of I-5 The Heat, and it's been an amazing journey so far, and we're going to continue rolling this train. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest for today. Key, are you there?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Hope everybody else is.
That's great. MJ?
Yes, I'm here. How is everybody doing? I hope y'all doing well in this rainy weather, and glad to be on the show.
Wonderful. Okay, Rain?
Yes, I'm here, and I am glad that this is my 4th week, I think, participating in the show, and I'm looking forward to another great show.
That is fantastic. Okay, well, like I said, this is I-5 The Heat Radio, and we are excited about today's episode, like always. This week's episode is going to be What's in a Name, and it's also going to be about speaking black. What is talking black? What does that mean to us as a society? But let's start with the name business. What's in a name? Not this week. I believe it was last week. It was that on The View, Raven Symone had made a comment about not hiring certain people because of their name. And I wanted to play that clip if I have it ready. And I do have it, so I'm going to start that clip.
Can we take back racist and say discriminatory? Because I think that's a better word.
Yes, it is a much better word.
That's a better word. And I am very discriminatory against words like the ones that they were saying in those names. I'm not about to hire you if your name is Watermelon Andrea. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to hire you.
Really? That's not your fault. That's not their fault.
I would be such a beautiful King Kong cliche.
Okay, so she had made a comment about people's names and that she wouldn't hire them if they had a name like Watermelon Andrea. And I think personally that is so disgraceful because, first of all, a person cannot name themselves, obviously. And that does not tell you how that person conducts business, how educated they are. And I think that's extremely wrong. What do you guys think about that subject?
Okay, well, I think that while you cannot control how you're named, you can control naming your child. And this is not the first time that we've heard this. We've heard this for the last 20-something years about how employers look at the same resume, but one could have a more ethnic-sounding name versus a Caucasian-sounding name or European-sounding name, and they won't hire them based upon the name. Now, while it's not fair, this is something that I think when you are naming a child that you might want to take into consideration. I don't think that Raven Symone's delivery was appropriate. However, I think she does make a valid point, and it's a discussion that that we do need to have in our community.
Okay. James, what do you feel?
I kind of agree with a lot of that in the fact that currently, in today's society, most of those that are doing the hiring come from a background that is either Anglo-Saxon or, we live in a European-styled society currently. However, that's changing, okay? So the thing about what has occurred is that is it unfair? Yes, it's unfair. But the truth of the matter is the people that are selecting, they already have a specific type of prejudice for a certain type of person. And it has nothing to do with the person's abilities. It has everything to do with external factors like a name, okay? So either you're going to end up dealing with those prejudices once you come on board, which could be a huge waste of time, or you're going to end up dealing with them or you're not going to end up dealing with them because they won't even give you the opportunity. Fair or not, I hate to even use the word fair because there's nothing that's fair. But what's going to happen is there is a browning of America. There is a more ethnic and atypical standard being set where more and more people who are doing the choosing are no longer coming up in that European-styled, Anglo-Saxon, lifestyle. So sure, whatever you name your child, some kids are named Blue. Anybody know of one? Some kids are named North. Anybody know of one? Some kids are named Apple. Anybody ever heard that one also? Some kids are named Blanket. The simple fact is, as we move forward in the future, what's occurring now will become less and less the determining factor. So although we're discussing it now, I don't think it's going to play that big a role in the future, because the people who are going to be making the decisions in the future aren't similar to the ones that are making the decision now.
Right. Okay, MJ?
Well, as a business owner and a family where ethnicity was prominent, my mother named my brother Amanifu, and his whole life he was ridiculed on, "I'm gonna need what? How much food you need?" I mean, his name means Albert in Swahili, but we're not in Swahili, so it doesn't matter how ethnic we want to try to, how much of our ethnicity we want to preserve. I'm with Raven Symone. When as a business owner, I am asking you to be the forefront of my business. I'm asking you to represent me. And in the African American community, you have the black tax, which is you have to do it better than everybody else at a cheaper price. Well, that name lets you know right off the top that I am African American. One of the things that I think that not only does your name do it, it's the way you pronounce your name, the way you say your name. What does your name mean? We think of people with outlandish names, Beyonce, Idris, Kanye, those names are synonymous with industries where they don't care what your name is. They're looking at what you can do. When you look at a name like Meta World Peace, when you're in the NBA, your talent supersedes your name. When you are in certain areas like a Tom Brady could you could call I want to say State Farm tomorrow and talk to Tom Brady, and you would not think attitude. You would think this is a person who handles his job. You would know he was going to be in the NFL tomorrow. When you listen to names like Aaron Rodgers or Matt Hasselbeck, even though these names are somewhat ethnic, have a connotation to it, it's usually on the end. When you hear Kopinski, you know on the end but when you first hear his first name, it to me, I just want to hear something that isn't extravagant. I just don't care for extravagance, and it's hard for a lot of people. It's hard to date a woman with an extravagant name. I introduce you to my mom as Mercedes. That's a little tough for me.
Okay, right. Key, what do you think?
Well, I guess I'm torn because I come from a family where my sister has a more common name that can be seen for both races, and my name is one that's going to be more ethically driven. And what I've seen coming up is that it's still a discrimination. It's so unfortunate that in 2015 that we are discriminating on a person, whether it's their name, their sex, their sexuality, their race. And so for me, I see it as a form of discrimination. What I think we have to continue to do is just kind of continue to educate people, individuals, business owners, managers, that a name is given to them. You can go and spend whatever amount of money it is to change that name. However, it's something that you are given at birth and that you create yourself as a business owner or a manager or a model or actress, and that's what you're going to be known for. You know, I'm proud of my name. I would never want to change my name, but it also instills in me to make sure that I work a little bit harder than a Jill or Amy or Amber. So for me, I guess it can be looked at from both sides. But I think for me, it's still just kind of sad that it's still a source of discrimination, because if your name is Apple or Blanket or Mercedes or Shaquana, you don't know what that person has or what they've been to get to the point to even put themselves in front of you for an interview or for a job or to be a parent or to be a teacher or, so I guess I'm kind of torn. I can see where people can come from that point of view, but my overall point of view is maybe we can get to a point where let's see what you got, let's see what you have to offer, and then we can go from there.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, sometimes we have to be careful about our arena. Certain individual biases are coming out. We live in a geographic area here in the Deep South where some of these things seem unusual to us. But, I have a brother of mine who lives in Northern California, and none of those things would seem unusual to them. So, it depends on the geographic area. Like here in South Carolina, there are two people that work for WIS. One's name is Michael and one's name is Sam. You have Michael and Sam. Well, both Michael and Sam are girls. They're both young women. You may say, well, yeah, but that kind of fits their industry. They weren't in that industry when they were born. They weren't in that industry when they were teenagers. They weren't in that industry. You have kids now being called Shaq and Devontae based on their parents' preference of a sports star or an entertainer when they were young. But these kids had those names before they went into that industry. So, again, I don't think we can say that depending on if you're given a certain name, you'll be more accepted someplace else. My point, as I was stating earlier, is that we have to look at the evolution of where we are going. Our society is evolving quite a bit, and in that evolution, the names, it appears that the more atypical you are, the more willing corporations, which are changing, okay? They're not just your basic agrarian society, a manufacturing society. We're a digital age now. It seems to be the more different you are, the more willing people are more accepting people are willing to be, because they figure you bring something else to the table that the typical person doesn't bring, and so you're going to help them get past where they are. You're going to help them with an edge that some other company won't have, because they automatically assume that, wow, you're different. When in fact, the only thing that's different about you is your name. I don't think it's going to be a negative. In fact, the people who continue to follow along those lines are going to be just like the people who continue to hire based on the color of skin. They found themselves falling back, losing their companies, and losing out on the abilities of those who don't look like them.
To piggyback on that, I totally agree with you in the evolution, because if we look at to a degree, if we look at Desmond Howard, whose name would have been looked at as funny when we were, if you go back to the middle class white American, his name would not have been, the name we were looking for to be a sportscaster. But now you have the Charles Barkleys, you have the Shaquille O'Neals, you have the Keyshawn Johnsons, who are taking over. I think we're talking about a name. There's two things about a name. A name gives us an idea of a certain idea. If I'm going to a courtroom and Jaquan is coming to represent me, automatically, and I think this comes to stereotyping the nature of a name. If it happened to be an Asian who came in the room, I would be totally floored, because I think certain extremes go with certain races or ethnicities. At the other end is,
but would you think that person would be able to serve that person yet better or worse based on their name? I think that's more of the issue.
This is the issue I have with it. Okay, like after the Raven Symone incident, someone made a comment on Twitter, and they had said, I guess it is a good thing that Raven Symone wasn't an interviewer when Whoopi or Barack or Oprah or Condoleezza Rice was looking for work. I think it's a shame, personally, that you will go ahead and stereotype a person based on their name. It does not say what they can perform as far as productivity. It doesn't say that they're ghetto. It doesn't say if they're white or black, because I know there's a woman, she's a news anchor by the name of Mika, and you would think that would be more of a African American name. But my whole thing is that I agree more with James, because times are changing, and the people that are doing the hiring now are slowly getting out. The concept, not the concept, but the mindset of people are changing, because more people are having different names. And that's just, to me, it's a shame that you will go ahead and stereotype someone based on a name that their parent gave them. And the thing is, you should be proud of whatever name that you have. It shouldn't be that you should want a more Caucasian name to be successful, or you think that you would need that to get ahead. I think that's a shame. And here in South Carolina makes you feel that way. Now, if I'm back in New York, where I'm from, if I was back in New York with whatever name that I have, it would be accepted. But South Carolina, they let you know quick that you're black.
Except for, take a name, and I understand it, but at the same time, there is an arena where what I hear and how I perceive it is what I hear and what I perceive. We're talking about a name that I look on an interview. At the same time, at an interview, you can't wear a jumpsuit to an interview. You can't wear. There are certain things that we're in America, we want change and we welcome change, and then there are certain places in America we do not want change. And on judge, we have Spanish Americans who are now sitting on jurisdictions, and their magistrates and their judges, and their hold high offices in Supreme Courts. We are accepting that. There are people of Asian descent who are now rising to the top of sports, and their names that don't matter. But in certain areas, when it comes to our corporate money, when it comes to our I don't want to say a lot of politicians, but when it comes to a lot of public image, America holds fast to image, to name is everything.
I was going to say that I agree with a lot of what MJ is saying, because as an educator, I see students who come in with these names that are not only, unusually spelled, but they're difficult to pronounce. And, I just feel like sometimes you could be doing an in-service or an injustice to your child, because sometimes, we do activities where it's like, okay, let's look up, your name, like what descent is your name from, or what's the origin of your name. And, sometimes the students can't find it. They're like, well, I don't know, what does my name mean? And it's like, oh, well, mom put these two names together. And, and I just think, sometimes not really thinking about the adult self, but the child self, you could be picked at because of your name. And I don't think that sometimes people realize that when they're, naming their children, because, they think, they like the way it's spelled, they think it's cute. And they have, different reasons for picking these names. But if you, even though times are changing, each year they come out with, like, baby names, like the most popular baby names. A lot of these names that people come up with, those are not going to be on the most popular list. And I don't think they will ever be on the most popular list. So even though times are changing, they're really staying the same. We have immigrants that come to this country that they start off with their name being Ricardo, and by the time, they go through the process, they're, Ricky or Rick or Richard, something that's more American. And so I don't – go ahead.
Well, I was going to say you're right about that, because even Governor Haley's real name is Nimrata. It's not Nikki. So she did that because it helped her fit in, all right? But she never changed her name. Her name is Nimrata. we talked about I think Jasmine mentioned, perhaps Raven Symone would not have hired Barack or Condoleezza. But what that tells me also, most people probably wouldn't hire a Raven either, because I think, Brother Mark, you just mentioned Raven, that conjures up someone who is getting ready to, come to the stage. But if you're not going to hire Barack and you don't hire Condoleezza because of their names, you're not going to be a long-term success, okay? You cannot, without diversity, you cannot get to where we're going to in the future. Being in business is not about being able to stay in place, because when you stay in place, you're actually being left behind. Everyone is moving forward. You have to be able to diversify. You have to know what those who aren't like you want, because you're not selling to you. You're selling to an audience, and they want. I always say the easiest way to make money is to have what people want, not what they need. Because if I have what you want, all I got to do is show it to you. But if I have what you need, now I have to sell it to you. And that takes time, energy, and resources. Okay? So for the folks who want to believe that they will be just fine keeping the status quo, they will become extinct. It is just a matter of time. Also, America is not a monolith. There used to be a time where America was seen as a specific type of person, but we're not. We're not that anymore. We are a melting pot, or we are somewhat sectionalized off right now, where there's sections that say Hispanics are the largest minority group, followed by blacks. Caucasians still make up the majority of people here, but by over the next 50 years, even that will find itself no longer being the case. And so you're working towards the future. We cannot allow, or not say that, we cannot continue to be hemmed in by biases and stereotypes that we've been taught, okay? Because if we are, then we're not going to be the ones advancing to the next level, because we're going to do what we don't want to see done. We're going to pick and choose based on what we believe to be safe. Okay?
But I think, James, I think you're hitting on a point that makes the name acceptable. In our community, now, and this goes back to slavery and the beginning of slavery and the conformity of the straightening of the hair and how we come from being African-American to, or from being Negro to being African-American and to being as bougie or blackish by us not being able to accept our own names. Now, the conditions that you just spoke about is that it can't continue is because I believe some of that shift is us being able to embrace it and saying Shaquille O'Neal is just as good as ball player as Robert Parrish. And accepting that in our own community first is going to be where it would have to change. It's not going to change in corporate America until we don't laugh at Shanae. We don't laugh at Boom Shika. We don't laugh at them. We don't ridicule them. But as long as we're ridiculing them, we make each other feel bad about their names, then this subject right here that we're discussing tonight is not necessarily a global as it is I have the group who I ostracize because of their names attacking each other for names. Now we can just jump in on the back wagon with them.
Well, I have to say that I think it's appalling. Not everybody's from the same place, so you're going to have a different name. And when you come over to this country, I now notice that, people change their names to conform to the more traditional American, what so-called American names supposed to be, which is Caucasian names, which I do not agree with. I think we should not have to do that in order to go ahead and get the job that we want. I believe in working our asses off to go ahead and get the job that we want. It shouldn't be based on our name. And then when you put in the application and you are qualified or overqualified, they look at your application and say, oh, well, Watermelon Andrea and you have Susie. Well, we're going to throw Watermelon Andrea in the trash, and they're going to keep the Susie, even based on that Watermelon Andrea qualification is amazing, you know, and then Susie's is okay. They're going to go with the name, and I think that is completely wrong. I just have to say here that with Tamika Isaac Divine, I applaud her because as far as she has come with the name that she has, I applaud her, and I look up to her. She means a lot to me. So kudos to Tamika Isaac Divine. I really do love her. I just wanted to
look
say
at Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey has a name. She's doing things. At the same time, we don't want them to throw away the name, but the name is what makes you look further into that person. That's just the God's honest truth. If I have two applicants and one is Paul and the other is Taekwon, I might look further into Taekwon to see why is he here. Did he? It is not. I don't think there's such thing as fair. But I do think that if you pull up if you were in a horse race and somebody pulls up a horse named Rabbit, you might look. Horses in races have phenomenal names. It's just a name said. William Shakespeare said, "A rose by any other name would still smell just as sweet." No, it wouldn't, because it would be a dandelion. The name says a lot about it.
Well, I mean, I think that a person with a name like Marquise versus Steven, I don't think that Marquise would have to, I don't think it's fair that he would have to work harder just because based on his name. If he's qualified, he's qualified. Give him a chance to go ahead and prove it, just like you would give Steven a chance to go ahead and prove it.
But I don't think it is that close. I don't think we're talking about names that are that close. Marquise, if you look at Cameron Newton, his name is a unisex name. He has it. Keyshawn Johnson. There are several Rocket Ishmaels in the NFL. When it comes to certain arenas, we give that chance when the names are close. Marcus versus Richard, Kwame versus Brad. I think we're giving it. It's the names that I can bear. Jaquemini. It's names where it's Attorney Jaquemini, John Arias. The names you can't pronounce. The names that teachers don't want to pronounce. They don't want to approach a student. They don't. I don't know if y'all ever watched this episode with Key and Peele, and he's the substitute. Block A.E. Block A.E. I mean, he's literally making fun because he's had regular names taken to her name is Stephan, but she calls herself Stefan. No, your name is Stephan. I mean, it's that type of thing where I think it's not just it's not a choice between good and better. It's a choice between, what is your name? Lemangelo, Lemongello.
Key?
Yeah. I listening to everyone, I guess now I'm kind of also thinking, what happens when Watermelon Nene is sitting interviewing Shaquana Jika, so what happens when that turn comes? So do we think that that's still going to be a typical situation where they're saying, oh, I don't think that this person can do the job? Like, when does it end?
Right.
Okay, we hire based on the name. What if the Shanae's are hiring the Jaqueminis, and because his name is different, he must be good? See, it's a double-edged sword. Once it starts, it doesn't stop. So I think that's where the regulations and the rigidness comes from. Once you start it, both sides are going to start doing it.
And so that's why I guess I feel so strongly about the fact that a name is a name. And so what we need to look at, I think the focus has to be on educating and being more knowledgeable about the fact that it is that. That does that mean that person can or cannot produce this, what they need to do in a situation, job, on the floor, anywhere. So I feel like that's the main point. Again, going back to, discrimination. It's discrimination. It's discrimination. And
it would be nice.
Continue battle, I think, even as time goes on, because we're still dealing with discrimination for religion, for sex, for race. So it's one of those things that it has to stop at the source.
But when
I think, it would be nice if they could do blind hiring where, maybe they don't look at the applicant's name. As an educator, that's what I do sometimes with my students. They put a number on the paper so that when I grade their assignment, I have no clue who that student is. And I, give them their grade based on, just not having any prior knowledge about the student. So, that would be wonderful if employers, had options where they didn't have to look at the name and simply looked at the qualifications. But unfortunately, that's not the way that this country works. When we hire someone, we need to do background checks. We need to call references. And, I feel that if you are seeking a job and you're concerned about your name, maybe you go with your nickname. Maybe you go with, I know people who have gone as far as to change their name, to something that, they feel is, more likable. So,
Wayne, you know the government does that now, right?
No, I didn't know that.
The government hires based on a number. That's usually your credit score, your social security number. And that also is a part of your name.
Now you're talking about something. That is so true.
I like what you just said, Rain. I think that maybe we should just go ahead and shake things up. We should go ahead and maybe mention to these corporations, instead of looking at people's names, go ahead and just get their address and their qualifications and where they've worked before. Then if they do like that person, at that point they can go ahead and do a background check, and then that's when they're about to do the background check, they'll get their name, but they have to follow suit at that point.
Right.
They have to go ahead.
Let's just go ahead and issue the mark of the beast tomorrow.
Excuse me?
Exactly.
Let's just get
I see your point right
and
issue the number.
Stay away from everything.
But again, I think it goes back to, if you think that you're going to be able to survive in this digital age, as I mentioned, we're not an agrarian society. We're not in the industrialized society anymore. We're not the manufacturing society. We're a digital society. We're moving so quickly, and it's going to require so many different types of people, because we don't. When you're brought up in a certain environment and you're not ready to expand outside of that, that's why you have other people who come in who have different a different upbringing and all that. If you don't allow yourself to expand, then you will become extinct. And if there's no need to teach anyone to do better and to think better. If they don't do it, they will become extinct. And as they become extinct, those who are doing exactly what we're advocating, that will become the standard. That will become the norm.
Right.
I agree. We are having computer programs that are going to soon be analyzing resumes and doing interviews. So the more, if you will, nerds who are with weird names are writing into the programs that do the interviews is going to eventually we hired. I was just thinking about it the other day. We hired a black president 2 years in a row with a weird name and a middle name synonymous to killing. So America is. He has an African, and Hussein was Saddam. So I think that we a part of America wants to accept the LGBT community. They want to embrace the no religion. They want to embrace the no drug laws. They want to embrace, we don't care what your name is, can you do the job? And then there is that little percent of America who has all the money who still care. Once we get more money, We'll start once the money is now in the hands. If you watch not Scandal, what's the show? NCIS with the weird girl who drinks the shakes all the time, or you watch Criminal Minds with Penelope, who's sitting. Once you need a person like that, and the only person who can do that is Waterfall Jackson, Sweet Howard Tower, you will hire him. You will.
And you know what you're going to find? The exact opposite is going to start to occur 15, 20 years from now. Johnny Smith, Mark Jackson, Bill Johnson, and Ted Roberts are not going to be chosen because they're not going to be seen as forward-thinking enough. Everybody's like, oh, my gosh, there's a Ted Johnson. There's no way that guy. And he may be, but they're going to say there's no way that guy came from a background that's going to be comfortable in our culture here. Our culture is vibrant. It's changing. It's innovative. And we can't bring in a John Smith.
That's a good point. That's a very
good point.
Yeah, so I would say, let me see, James, Jazz, and Key on one side, and MJ and Rain on the other side with this topic. So
I'm in the middle. I'm really in the middle. When you have my 10,000, I'm a third generation. My grandfather's a Mark. My dad's a Mark. I'm a Mark. When I have a son, he'll be a Mark. I'm a traditionalist. I'm a conformist. My brother's name is Marceau. He's Marceau, and his son is Marceau. So I mean, I see that my brother he owns a lot of businesses. He runs a movie theater. So I see it from America accept him, from America accepts me. I just think it's going to be it's tough to get the people with all the money to accept those people.
But see, like I was saying, if people can just interview the person based on their qualifications and don't even know the name, and then just follow suit with doing the background check, and then see that they don't have a bad background, then that should be a go. It should not be on their name solely, or that shouldn't make someone pause because of their name. I think that's ridiculous. But let's get on to our next topic, which is what is talking black? What is speaking black? And what is that? How it be? You is stupid? You jive tucky? I mean, what is it? What is talking black?
None of us on this show just did.
What is speaking black? I mean, because to me, with the mother that I have, if I spoke incorrectly, I said something that was incorrect, I was always not scolded, but I was told, what did you say? Or I had to correct it right then and there on the spot. So I don't know what this talking black is. I didn't really hear of this until maybe a couple years ago, and I didn't understand what it meant. What does it mean to you guys?
Well, I think talking black is synonymous with being uneducated. There's a lot of times where the word is they are, and we say there, and it's not there, it's they are. But I think it's in enunciation, it's in pronunciation, and it's in syntax, correct grammar, sentence structure, dangling participles, and all sorts of things. I think talking black is not taking the time to put together well thought out sentences. The one thing, there's some things, being from the North and coming to the South, there are some things that I think that we consider black, but there may be more Southern. Yonder's way. I'm going up yonder's way. That is a Southern term, but it's more synonymous with uneducated people in general. Or would you bring the door up? That's only something that I only hear my African American friends is pull the door up. Doors don't get pulled up, they get closed or shut. And so I think, or will you, with my favorite one is, will you bring me to her house? I think that's just laziness in vocabulary skills, that's all.
But why is it Why does it have to be black? Because if a black person, African American person spoke correctly, then we're looked at as, oh, they are so proper, they're so well spoken. Why? Because that's the norm, maybe. Not every.
Well, because we read books.
Like this.
Because when you read, I think it's book reading. Book reading is the king of it. If you don't read books, you won't learn how to talk proper.
Right.
But
why
Mark,
why is it that society thinks that talking black means us? Why is it referenced towards us? Not all of us speak that way. Just like Caucasians, not all of them speak a certain way either. They can be speaking black. I mean, what do I call it? Oh, you're talking white? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
Listen, come on. Some of this we have to take responsibility for ourselves, because we will say, yeah, we're going to be like, man, don't talk like that. You trying to be like them white folks, or and there is an ignorant component here, but that goes back to slavery. If you have a certain dialect and then you have to learn an entirely different language, you're not going to pick it up correctly. You're going to have mistakes, especially when it was illegal to even teach you, not just teach you correctly, but teach you at all. That was illegal. So we used our language, our dialect, to modify words, and they came out a certain way. But then again, a lot of this is regional. In the South, Mark just said it, in the South, we say y'all, okay? But when we say y'all, we see that as regional because both blacks and whites say it. But when often blacks will say, you know what, we want to set ourselves apart. We want to show ourselves to be different. So we will change up the language. We'll make it backwards. We'll change cool to mean hot. We'll change hot to mean cool. We'll make fat mean pretty, and we'll make some other word that on its face means one thing. No. We'll turn it all the way around and then ask for credit for it. But then when it becomes a negative, we no longer want credit.
The subject we talked about is we want our names to be different as well as our language, and then we want you to hire us because we're just like everybody else. Really? This is where I don't be understanding how my people come through all these struggles, and now we over here and can't get nothing better because of Mr. Charlie. No, sir. Not going to happen. Just not going to happen. Why is that bad? I mean, we just talked about we want Tyrone to not be looked at for his name, but where Tyrone comes from, or where he comes from, that's the language spoken. But then we don't want to say that.
But hold on a second. Why does Tyrone have to be speaking like this? Tyrone doesn't have to speak that way.
Because Tyrone didn't open a book. Here's the two things. Here's the two things. At one point we talked black, or we were ignorant because we could not open books. Now we talk ignorant because we will not open books. We will not pay attention. The new thing right now is the way we text. The way we text in what is it? I want to say is acronyms, like on my way, OMW. I mean, it's
rush. That's how we text now. But what I'm saying is, like, not every Tyrone is going to say what it be like. So what I'm saying is if Tyrone, who already have a different name, and it might be his resume might be shoved off to the corner and say next, Tyrone doesn't have to speak that way in every situation. Tyrone might speak very, eloquently and proper, and it should be just looked at as that's how he speaks. It doesn't mean that all Tyrones have to speak in black lingo.
Look at it this way. Look at where is it predominant? Okay, where is what we're talking about? The dominant, is a dominant cultural identity. The dominant culture that does this is the black culture. Now, I'm not saying that we are, as I kept saying earlier, we're not a monolithic people. We came from an entire continent that had 80-something countries. Okay, that just because we share the same color of skin doesn't mean we even share the same heritage. Okay, not at all. I mean, you could come from Nairobi, I could come from Liberia, you could come from South Sudan, I could come from Ghana. We are from different countries. We just have a similar color. You could come from South America and have the same color I do, but the world sees you as black. All right? So it just happens to be in the U.S., in our culture, because it's not the same thing in England. Okay, I've known blacks who moved over from England who their dialect is based on where they grew up, similar to here. If you grew up in the north, you have a certain type of dialect. When you grow up in the south, a certain type of dialect. You grow up in the west, a certain type of dialect. People look at that over there as just where they grew up. But in the United States of America, we have been so much controlled by racism and white supremacy as a overall thought that has permeated our entire country, that we just assert black to it. We just say, what you're doing is black because it comes from people that are black. That's it. We can't run away from it.
They say I'm not the average black girl because I'm so well-spoken, poised, full of etiquette, a white man's token. I remember my ex's mother telling me I didn't know how I was going to react when he brought home a black girl, but I like you because you talk so white. Well, when did me talking right equate to me talking white? They say I'm not the average black girl. No, not the average black girl, because the pigment in my skin is just a shade lighter than that black girl over there. The black girl over there, the black girl with the nappy hair, the black girls whose elbows can't skip a day without lotion, whose hearts and heads are filled up with self-hate and bottled up emotion. The cocoa brown girls who have to face society every day and be tough, because no matter how good they straighten their hair, their good is still not good enough. Oh, see, luckily for me, I don't fall in that category. See, they say I'm not the average black girl because I speak with so much class, and I don't have too much, but just enough ass, and not too much, but just enough pizzazz. Just a little bit of attitude, because you don't want to come off as one of those average black girls and come off as rude. Popping their gum and shaking their neck. Yeah, because those black girls get, no respect. But luckily for me, I get a pass, because the melanin in my skin matches that brown paper bag, and my father, brother, and men that I date, pants don't sag. And when I speak, my tongue pronounces every syllable. And the combed part down the middle of my hair is naturally visible. Oh, it must be a weave, but she must be mixed, because we all know the average black girl ain't got that good. Or when I walk into a room full of white men, they all stare. It must be the long lengths of my unaverage black girl hair. See, they say I'm not the average black girl because I corrected the professor when he used the word conversate. Converse. The word is converse. And in case you didn't get the memo, there are now 8, not 9 planets in the universe. And when you're watching the numbers on your stocks move up and down, remember Oklahoma, in a small town, where one of the first Wall Streets was a black Wall Street that got mysteriously burned down. Oh, they say I'm not the average black girl. Well, let's flip the script and rewind this, repaint the lines that had been blurred over time, because the average black girl that I know, the average black girl that I know made 19 trips through the Underground Railroad to free the slaves. Sat on segregated buses, refused to get up and pave new waves. See, the average black girl that I know were Egyptian queens like Hatshepsut and Nitocris, who were ruling dynasties and whole armies of men. Excuse me while I set fire to this poem on my pen, because I am tired. Tired of the stereotypes black girls have fallen into because of American mentality. Oh, but not half as tired as Ella Baker, Diane Nash, Septima Poinsett Clark. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, Daisy Bates, Anna Arnold Hedgeman, and Dorothy Height are far more tired than I am. But do you think the ones who say I'm not the average black girl even give a damn? No. So pardon me if I can't openly accept your compliments. Pardon me if I can't openly accept your compliment. It's just the average black girl that I know. The average black girl that I know had courage that surpassed her every fear and fought for justice and equality year after year. So as I construct these words, pardon me as I shed a tear, because I'm not half the black girl she was. I am not half the black girl she was. See, there's a minor clause. See, she was out there fighting, breaking, and changing laws. So I bow down to my black queen standing in the merit of her work. And as America's society continuously throws these supercilious words unto me, I say no. I'm not the average black girl. I can only aspire to be. Thank you.